Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My guest today is Jessica, who is the CEO and founder of the Integrative Women's Health Institute. Jessica, I'm excited to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, tell everyone a little bit about the business and who you guys are, who you help, and everything that you have going on.
So, our company is a continuing education company primarily for women's health and wellness professionals or people looking to get into that field to make a career transition.
Hmm.
And we focus on women's health from an integrative approach, lifestyle medicine, and nutrition, movement, mindfulness, exercise, things of that nature. Um, and we've been doing this for just about 20 years now. We have probably educated, I think we've certified something like 3,200 professionals in
Well,
60 countries around the world, a little bit more than 60 countries. We're primarily digital in terms of our education. I do some live education or speak at live professional conferences, but
mhm,
primarily our certifications are fully online. And so we have students from everywhere, from across
mhm,
disciplines, nurses, physicians, physical therapists,
mhm,
health coaches, fitness professionals, body workers, occupational therapists, acupuncturists,
mhm,
naturopathic physicians, chiropractors across the spectrum of disciplines, which
mhm,
I really like how multicultural, multidisciplinary from a medical standpoint,
mhm,
because our conversations collaboratively inside of the coaching calls with our students are truly integrative and multidisciplinary. So we take
mhm,
that approach, and it's a health coaching, communication driven approach in our
mhm,
certifications, in the sense that all of our students are empowered to essentially put the healing opportunity in the hands of the client. So we're
mhm,
trying to shift the perspective from a person who is sick, not having some symptoms,
mhm.
coming to a practitioner, getting a list of recommendations and being like, go do that, go take this
Mm.
medication, go do this exercise,
Yeah.
go eat this food, whatever. Instead, starting the conversation in a health coaching model, which is a toolkit of communication skills, where the client is first really encouraged to kind of look at their past history health wise,
Mhm,
look at what they're doing day to day to manage their health, what their resources and their current health team is, what they have
mhm.
access to, because of course in different countries and different socioeconomic um, areas, even within the United States, people have
Yeah.
different access to things. People have different amounts of time. People have
Mhm.
different amounts of access to food and exercise.
Yeah.
And so we start with like, where are you now? And what is your vision? What does health look like? Because the other key thing that I think we've really brought to the industry is a change in perspective from you are either healthy or you're sick.
Mhm,
Because the reality is that's a continuum. You
mhm.
could be highly physically fit and be challenged with anxiety
Yeah.
or chronic pain, even.
Mhm,
And you could also be very ill and have, literally be terminally ill or have severe life threatening illness and have a very calm, centered nervous system, very healthy relationships. So
mm,
there's a very wide spectrum of what's healthy and what's less healthy.
mhm.
And so we help people really define what that means for them. And then we can bring in all of these tools that they can primarily integrate in their own homes, how
Yeah.
they're eating, what their bedtime routine is,
Mhm.
how many steps they're walking, all of
Yeah.
that. And we can take it to a next level. There are more and more tools depending on what people have access to, everything from nutraceuticals to red light therapies
Mm.
to, things that are more integrative, uh, biohacking tools, if you
Yeah.
will, but they really do have evidence in certain circumstances to help with particularly chronic illnesses.
That's really, really interesting. It sounds like it's such a holistic approach as opposed to like this, or this. And I'm wondering, obviously, these women oftentimes aren't really aware that they're going through all these problems. They don't have the not that they don't have the capacity, but they are often so busy with doing different things that they don't look internally. So I'm wondering, do they know you guys? They obviously can sense some problem. How do they find out about you? How do they learn that you exist and really approach into looking for that help?
So the people that we work with directly, primarily, I do have a small client practice, but
Mm,
primarily we educate professionals who are in the field.
mm,
So we work with women's health and wellness professionals who are already working with women, and they are seeing the gaps in care availability, in our,
hmm
in their knowledge, when their clients are coming to them and being like, I did this, I saw this doctor, I
hmm
went to these specialists. I either was somewhat ignored, which is very common,
hmm
or they didn't really have time, or they couldn't figure it out, or they didn't get to the root, or I'm doing this but it's not really working.
hmm
So we're educating practitioners to really fill that gap. And
mm,
then we also give them business training skills, because the reality is, you're exactly right. A lot of women, about 80% of women in the United States, have a complex chronic illness,
mm,
and many of them are unaware of it. They're like, oh, everyone in my family has migraines, or everyone in my family has,
mm.
fertility challenges,
It's
or
normal, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
period pain or
yeah.
whatever. And that, so they aren't really sure, number one, that it's a problem.
hmm
And number two, that there are tools to help these things,
mm,
autoimmune diseases. I mean, the list of kind of invisible illness that many, many women are carrying without much deep support is tremendous. So, one of the things we do is we teach our students the marketing skills to communicate with their communities, and bringing them in through things that women do recognize that they're struggling with,
hmm
particular symptoms, things like sleep issues. There are certain things that will drive women to finally seek help, because they're like, oh, I can't handle this anymore. And
Yeah.
so we do teach all of that in our programs as well.
And I noticed that you guys, I believe, run webinars
Mhm.
online as well. Is that kind of the main way for them to find out that you guys exist? I'm assuming maybe there's ads that you guys are running to that. So on the,
Mhm.
I guess, the business acquisition side of trying to get more of these clients, how does that usually look like?
Yeah. So our client, awareness strategy, if you will, is primarily webinars.
hmm
And so that we can educate them on what our programs are, what gaps they fill, what they'll
hmm
learn, what they'll be certified in, how that can help them actually have better, more flexible, more financially rewarding careers.
hmm
So we do that through webinar and email follow up training. And we do that. Yes, we use some ads. We do
hmm
some social media ads, some Google ads. And we also have very strong SEO, because this company is 20 years old. I've been writing blog posts and, filming interviews for more 2 decades almost now. So we
Yeah.
have deep SEO. We're the number one school in the world for women's health coaching from that perspective.
hmm
So a lot of this is just long-term commitment
hmm
to making our programs better and better and better every year, to spreading the word, to a lot of free content,
mm
blog posts, social media content, live speaking.
Yeah.
And really, it's just the fact that this has been a consistent process for, you know,
A long
almost
time.
half my life. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time. And what throughout those these 2 decades that you've been building the company and obviously trying to increase the impact that you have on people, what are, I'm wondering what's like the biggest oh snap moments of like the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way of here's how we can achieve all the impact that we want to have, but also grow the business simultaneously.
I think for me, that comes down to, can every year or even more often, refocusing our strategy on just a few things.
Hmm.
So my goal has not been to to kind of create a cheap product that hundreds of thousands of people could access.
Yeah.
My goal has always been to create the best product,
Hmm.
the absolute best product. and stay really, really focused. In fact, we're in a transition right now. Our flagship program, the Women's Health Coach certification, I'm enrolling our final cohort now, and then we are going to be 100% focused on our specialist programs,
Hmm.
because our graduates, and the community at large of women's health and wellness professionals are getting more foundationally educated in general through our programs, through other programs. And now we are really leading the charge on specialist education and things like perimenopause,
Hmm.
menopause, endometriosis, chronic pain, longevity. And so for me, it's about a continued commitment to the product being excellent more than an absolute focus on scale.
That makes a lot of sense. It's always gonna go. It kind of always ties back to the quality over quantity, because you could have everyone and you could be helping all these people, but then you wouldn't be helping them as much as you can help them, and then it's just it's I think it comes down to a moral slash ethic dilemma sometimes for some people, where they want to have the best company, they want to grow, and they want to be so big, but there's sacrifices they got to make in the way there, and it seems like you've been able to do both and kind of grow both together really, really well.
And I think that comes from patience.
Mm,
You know, if you commit to something over a long period of time, you can have both the reach and the excellence.
yeah, 100%. What are you looking forward to now? Obviously, you've built such a strong foundation. What are some of the goals that you have now to be able to achieve even more impact, and maybe some challenges that could kind of bump you along the way of those goals?
Well, our goals now, as I said, are to stay very focused on our
Yeah.
specialist programs and grow those at the same level that we've grown everything else. I think it's really about focus. And the other thing that has been most effective in making our business just better over the years is periodically streamlining our expenses, our complexity. You know,
Mm,
as I said, we've had a lot of kind of client acquisition, lead generation strategies tested over the years, and
hmm.
they all work, you know, but committing to just a few is actually
Hmm.
turning out to be far more effective.
Hmm.
So, refining and optimizing everything, the copy on our sales pages, my webinars, our email follow up copy, our the quality of our product, the quality
Mm,
of our operations teams, and our expectations of the team. And so, we have great people employed in our company that have been
hmm.
with me for, again, many of them decades, more than a decade. And so it's that commitment over time to iteration. So
Mm,
I think it was Reid Hoffman, the guy who founded LinkedIn, that once said, if you wait till the product is ready, you've launched too late. So we've
mm,
always been about launching and refining, because you can't optimize your product and your systems in a background in a vacuum. You have to
hmm.
optimize your products and your systems in real time with real feedback. And that's what I do think holds a lot of business owners back, is they're kind of waiting until
Hmm.
everything is ready and perfect. But again, after doing this for 20 years, like, you're constantly iterating and optimizing.
Yeah, and how big is your team now, if you don't mind me asking?
It's about 20.
And obviously, to grow the team, there's many challenges. Hey, how do I get the right person? Make sure the right person's on the right seat. Um, for you to build that team, what were some of the main things that you were always looking after to make sure that when you were bringing someone on board, they were going to be the right person to take over that role?
I think the key has been, again, hiring people who are committed to our mission.
Mm,
The reality is that women's health is an area that's highly underserved and struggling.
mm,
And it's getting, honestly, in some ways worse. So we've hired people who really care about improving women's health. And of course, we hire people that are skilled and educated and have a track record. But
Hmm.
once they come in, if they're committed to this work, they can flex with the messiness that is small business.
Hmm.
you know,
I see.
they can ride those waves,
Yeah.
and they're flexible. I think the other thing is we have a lot of working women, working moms on our team who
Mm-hmm.
are really, really skilled at doing a lot of things at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, women are really, really good managers of
Mm-hmm.
themselves and of their teams, their colleagues, because they are often doing a lot of management that is completely unrecognized in
Mm-hmm.
their daily life. Like, think about the people in your life who are planning and
Yeah.
executing every event,
Yeah. I
picking,
can't do that. Yeah.
right, picking up people. Someone forgets their socks. Who knows the sock size of everyone in your family, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's only one answer. Yeah, there's only one answer. So yeah, 100%. That's interesting. And you said I just want to touch back quickly on the webinar. I'm wondering if you are familiar with Russell Brunson and you build a webinar through Russell Brunson's technique. Is that would that be fair to assume or not really?
No, I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
that at all. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, Russell Brunson is someone who he's an entrepreneur, so he has a software company online for funnels called ClickFunnels,
Mhm.
and he managed to grow his company to 100 million plus in however many value in a few years through webinars. And he wrote a couple books, and one of the books is running through the perfect webinar. So as soon as I hear webinar, my instant reaction is always, "Oh, Russell Brunson." So I was wondering if you had heard of him or if you utilize any of his methodologies. But if that's not the case, are there any books in your trajectory that really kind of change the way that you pursue company building and the way that you view how things should be done in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve?
That's a great question. Um, it's interesting. I read a lot, but I
Mm.
don't really read a lot of business books.
Mm.
I
Is there
think
any reason
for
for it?
No.
Oh.
And it's interesting too because my background is in healthcare.
Hmm.
I have no formal business training in terms of, like, I don't have an MBA or
Hmm.
anything like that.
Sure.
Um, in fact, I'm not sure if I've ever taken a college level business course, but I
Hmm.
have done a lot of self education. Um, so I'm trying to think if there's anything particularly
Mm.
impactful that I've read or listened to.
Mm.
I think honestly, it's been about, for me, hiring coaches who have done some of these things
Mm.
before.
Yeah.
So, I've worked with a lot of different entrepreneurs. It's more about collaborating with other
Mm.
entrepreneurs, talking to them. Sometimes over the years, I've had sort of informal masterminds with
Yeah.
people at my level or slightly higher. And I
Mm.
think sometimes it depends on your goals around business. I really didn't set out to create $100 million company.
Hmm.
Maybe that was a mistake. um, but it really never occurred to me. It didn't,
Mm.
because my goal from the very beginning was, the reason I even started this company at all is because there are certain common challenges in women's
Hmm.
healthcare that we have better tools for than most clinicians are aware of.
Mm.
And I wanted to improve women's healthcare. And literally, that's it.
Hmm.
So I did what I knew how to do, which is educate my colleagues. It's something I've been doing since literally the year I got out of my first graduate program.
Mm.
And together, it's just sort of grown organically. Now, have I leaned into building skills and copywriting and webinar creation and things like that? Yes.
Yeah.
But I can't say that there's been like a particular format
Mm.
that I've followed. It's really more about, and I've kind of created some of these systems just in our business training of, like,
Sure.
how I think about this. So, for
Hmm.
example, when I'm speaking to anybody through a webinar or a social media post or something like that, we have kind of a standard ideal client, if you will. And I really think about that person as a real human being and as kind of like a literary character. Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
know that person as well as any author knows her characters when she's
Mm-hmm.
writing a novel. And
Sure.
so I speak directly to people. And the way I learned this was by actually speaking to real people. And
Yeah.
so for the first 5 years of this company, I flew all over the world, anywhere that 20 people would have me. And I talked about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been learned in real time with other women's health
Yeah.
clinicians. And that's how I've learned it. And then I would say, in terms of the webinar structure, for me, it's about the same thing that we do with our clients. We show people their career vision opportunity. Like,
Mm-hmm.
where are you now? And where do you want to be? And it's really that simple, because if you think about anything in life, if you want to get your finances together, your career together, your
Mm-hmm.
health together, you just start with, well, where am I now and where do I want to
Yeah.
be? And then ideally, for me, it's been easier to learn with people
Mm-hmm.
than from like a particular book. But it's like, then you hook up with people who are either there or on their way there,
Mm-hmm.
and you do it in that community.
Yeah. Follow a path that's already been discovered by other people. Yeah, that's so interesting.
And
And
that's
I
what we try
have,
to do with our students as well,
yeah,
is just bring them along. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. That's really, really awesome. And I have one last question for you, which I actually will tie it perfectly, but it's not a question from me. It's a question from the past guest.
Mm.
Um, and they had no idea who you were or where you were coming on, but I think it's actually going to be really fitting based on the business that you have. So, do you think? Are you ready for the question?
Yeah. Ready.
Okay. Do you think AI agents will be able to replace coaches, teachers, and trainers?
No.
Hmm.
Although I do think AI agents are going to change what we do.
Hmm.
So I was lucky enough about a week ago, well, 3 or 4 weeks ago, to meet with one of the top most skilled person in this world of AI agents. And we're
Mm.
actually trying to collaborate to build a few things. So here's how I think AI agents will help health coaches in particular, but actually all health professionals.
Sure.
So particularly in women's health, there's a lot of complex chronic invisible illness. It's
Mm.
very common for women to have perimenopause and endometriosis and migraines and MCAS and POTS and,
Mm.
a multiple of different things that have some genetic underpinnings and have some environmental contributors.
Mm.
But every case looks different.
Mm.
And that is a difficult thing for the average clinician to navigate and then kind of put together a best practice structure for an individual client.
Yeah.
I think people with a lot of experience are pretty good at it, but it could probably be done better when you have all that experience combined with all the data we have published. And we
Hmm.
have several different agents working together to challenge each other,
Mm.
because we don't want just one algorithm.
Yeah.
Then we can have a sort of quote unquote plan of care given to any individual with a complex circumstance.
Yeah.
And this could be applied to even simpler situations too. Like, let's say somebody wanted to build muscle and they have access to X, Y, and Z and this food and whatever.
Sure.
But here's the reality. Then you need a human, because you could have the perfect, I could say to you, like, what's one of your goals right now? And you could tell me and I could be like, okay, here are the 7 things to do and you will hit it.
Yeah.
How many people will just go off on their own and do those 7 things?
Probably less than 10%. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe 3. I wrote a book that described my exact process.
Hmm.
I've had one person who read the whole thing, tried to implement it, and then got a little stuck. Almost everybody, only 4% of people read any book that they purchase.
Wow. That's
And
a
I
sad
think it's
number.
even less. It's like 1% then go beyond the first chapter.
That is crazy.
So here's what
Wow.
the agents can do for us. They can sort of write the book, if you will, but the coaches have to sit with the humans
Hmm.
and navigate the complexities of why that's really hard.
That's so interesting. I'm glad that question went to you because that's such a great answer. I think there's so many things that it can help with, but there's certain aspects of human connection and community and accountability and all these things that are just never going to be replaced. It's the unscalable things that make the difference. And I'm willing to. I'm looking forward to what question you will ask the next person. But that's another conversation. Jessica, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your insights. I really appreciate you. Where should people go if they want to learn a little bit more about everything that you have going on?
Our website is integrativewomenshealthinstitute.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at Integrative Women's Health.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you.